Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into a really fascinating academic paper by Dr. S A Hamed Hosseini. It puts forward a pretty radical new way of thinking about how we measure progress in society and, what it even means to live a good life. It's the kind of work that really challenges our most basic assumptions. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll look at why current models, like GDP, and even mainstream ideas of well-being just aren't cutting it. Then we'll get into the main event, the well-living paradigm itself. We'll unpack its framework, see what it would actually mean for our institutions, and wrap up by talking about why this whole idea is so incredibly relevant right now. The core problem we're talking about today isn't new. Way back in 1968, Robert F. Kennedy absolutely nailed it. He said that our main measure of success, the gross national product, measures everything except that which makes life worthwhile. That single quote just perfectly sets the stage for the challenge that Dr. Hosseini's work is trying to solve. Okay, let's get right into it. Before we can really appreciate a new solution, we have to get a crystal clear diagnosis of what's wrong with the current approach. And that brings us to our first section, why today's models are failing us. So for years now, this whole beyond GDP movement has been building up steam. And it's based on a simple idea, that money alone is a terrible way to measure how a country is really doing. This gave rise to the whole concept of well-being. But, and this is the key point in Dr. Hosseini's paper, even these well-meaning ideas fall short because they're basically just trying to patch up a broken system without addressing the root cause. And this slide really gets to the heart of that critique. On one side, you have mainstream well-being, which is all about small tweaks to the existing system. It focuses on individual happiness and stuff you can easily count. But on the other side, the well-living critique says, whoa, hold on, that's just a band-aid. It argues that the system itself is the problem, that focusing on individuals makes us forget about our collective struggles, and that by only measuring what's easy to quantify, we completely ignore essential things like community, connection, and care work. So if the current models are based on a faulty diagnosis, then what's the prescription? This brings us right to the core of the paper and its big idea, its proposed solution, the well-living paradigm. So what in the world is well-living? Well, the paper defines it as a transformative paradigm for quality of life, one that actually aims to move beyond capitalism to build a way of living that's holistic and harmonious. Let's be clear, this is not just another buzzword, it's a call for a massive shift in how we see everything, a totally different perspective on what a good life even is. Now, the philosophical foundation for all of this is a concept the paper calls the commonist state of being. And right away, let me clarify, this is not about communism. It's about the commons, the idea that life itself in all its forms is a shared treasure, something of the absolute highest value. In this worldview, the true value of anything isn't its price tag. It's its positive impact on the health and regeneration of all life on the planet. Okay, so that's the big picture philosophy. But how does that turn into something, practical? Section 3 is where we break down the formula, looking at the core principles and the essential qualities that grow out of them. The whole framework is really built in 2 layers. It all starts with 4 foundational principles. And from those principles, 9 interconnected qualities emerge. These qualities are what really define the character of a society that's built around this idea of well-living. All right, principle number 1 is livability. Think of this as the ecological foundation. It's about living in deep harmony with the entire web of life, and it means we have to respect our planet's limits. It's about creating real value through practices that regenerate our world, not extract from it. Second, we've got creativity. And we're not just talking about art here. This is about our collective power to innovate and cooperate. It's about cultivating sufficiency, making sure everyone has enough by working together as communities to meet our needs in new and better ways. Third is conviviality. I love this word. It's really the social principle, the art of living well together. It's all about fostering deep solidarity, real equity, and peaceful coexistence, all while celebrating our differences. It's a recognition that we are all in this together. And the fourth and final principle is alterity. This one is all about liberation. It's about empowering every single person and every community, the self and the other, to have the freedom and the power to shape their own lives free from oppression. So what happens when you take those 4 principles, livability, creativity, conviviality, and alterity, and you actually put them into practice? Well, the paper argues that these 9 qualities naturally start to emerge. They're not a checklist, they're the result. For instance, harmonious coexistence just flows directly from livability. Social integrity is what you get when conviviality and alterity work together. It's about creating a society where things like authenticity and liberation aren't just buzzwords, but are the actual lived reality. Now, this is a beautiful vision, but it brings up a massive question, right? How on earth would a society actually do this? How would you put these principles into practice? And that leads us to what the paper calls the treatment plan, a complete rebuilding of our most fundamental institutions. And this is such a critical point. Well living isn't something you achieve just by changing your attitude. The paper is very clear. It requires a real, tangible, structural transformation of the very institutions that make up our society. This table really lays out the blueprint. Just imagine it. An economic system that isn't built on endless growth, but on solidarity, cooperation, and care. A political system where power isn't held at the top, but is decentralized through grassroots democracy. An education system retooled to teach ecological awareness and empathy. And social structures built on mutual aid and community care. This is the vision. Okay, so we've looked at the diagnosis, the prescription, and the treatment plan. To wrap this all up, let's talk about the prognosis. Let's talk about why this blueprint for transformation really truly matters in the world we're living in today. Here's the bottom line. The well living paradigm is so much more than just an academic critique. At a time when we are facing these massive interconnected crises, from ecological collapse to deep social injustice, it's presented as a necessary call to action. It offers a clear, coherent vision for what a just and regenerative future could actually look like. It's a potential path forward. And that really leaves us with one final big question to think about. Is this vision of well living just a utopian dream? Something that sounds nice but is impossible to achieve? Or, given the incredible challenges we face, is it actually a necessary blueprint for our collective survival and our ability to truly flourish? Something to think about. Thank you.